Here's the intro.
Hello people watching this video, and welcome to my review show,
known as simply Danny's Review Show. I decided not to stay live action for this one. That'll just be an inconsistent thing. I mean, this whole show has been inconsistent, but anyway. You know, it just hit me recently. Pac-Man is old. Like, sometime in the year of our Lord 2022, Pac-Man will be 42. Boy, I just aged a video. Pac-Man was originally released on May 22nd, 1980 in Japan, and December 1980 worldwide. Almost 2 years later, Ms. Pac-Man was released here in the States on January 13th, 1982. The thing that makes me feel old is the fact that when I was born, Pac-Man was not even 14 yet and Ms. Pac-Man was only 12. So, that's cool. Anyway, let's move on to the point of this video. Pac-Man got a gray cartridge Game Boy release in 1991 and Ms. Pac-Man got one in 1993. Today, we'll be taking a look at the Game Boy Color versions of these games. Pac-Man Special Color Edition and Ms. Pac-Man Special Color Edition. Both of these were released in November of 1999 to my knowledge. They're both enhanced versions of the original Game Boy versions of these games. In addition to that, they also both come with an extra Pac-Man game, but we'll get to that as I talk about the games. I decided to talk about these games because I haven't had a Pac-Man specific review video since 2015 with the Dang It Show. Huh. I actually remember playing a friend's copy of Ms. Pac-Man, and that was the first time I had played the extra game included. So, without further ado, I'm using that word correctly, right? Let's get to the game. We'll start things off with Pac-Man SCE, since Pac-Man obviously came out first. We might get flooded with... oh. Anyway, we're brought to the menu here, where we have a choice of Pac-Man or the bonus game, Pac-Attack. It's a basic menu, but it functions. Starting things off with Pac-Man, there's not much at all I can say. You've got a zoomed in screen, of course, and the sounds are quite different from the arcade version. There are also little details here and there with the graphics that are different from the arcade version, but all that is to be expected on the less powerful Game Boy Color. Obviously the big difference here from the original Game Boy version of Pac-Man is the addition of color. As far as I can tell, it's basically the same as the Game Boy version, just with color and updated music and sounds. So it's overall a fine version of the game. Let's move on to Pac-Attack.
It's not worth it.
Like Pac-Man on here, this is basically an enhanced version of the Game Boy version of this game, which was released in 1993. Obviously not as good looking as the console versions, but it still looks decent and works pretty much the same as the others. We have the usual normal mode, one that I still kinda suck at. The characters might look a tad small, but they're not too small. And of course we have puzzle mode, which can be addicting and challenging, as most of these types go. While not as good looking, there's something about these colors that look appealing to me. Not quite sure what it is, but it's a good thing it does, considering if I play through it for so long, I'll have to get used to it anyway. So overall, Pac-Man SCE was a great set for the time, and I would have enjoyed this as a kid. There's not really much of a reason to get this game today, since we have many other options to play these games portably, but for the time, it was a pretty good deal. Now we'll move on to the other set of two games, Ms. Pac-Man SCE. As expected, it's basically the same as the Pac-Man pack, just with different games. As you can see here, the bonus game is Super Pac-Man. We'll get to that after Ms. PM. Now while this is largely the same as how it is for Pac-Man SCE, there is something else in this version that I didn't expect to see. Before I get to that, I wanted to mention that in both this game and Pac-Man SCE, they have a very small room for the ghosts. I can see why they want to get out ASAP, because that looks uncomfortable. Although they are ghosts, so who knows. I think it's just that the ghosts are bigger in this version, but I don't know that for sure. Other than that, it's a fine version of the game. Most people say they like this game better than the original Pac-Man, and I think I'd say so too. I mean, you do get different looks for the mazes as you progress, and this game overall is just more advanced than the original Pac-Man. This version, like the others, don't look or sound as good as the arcade one, but it's still a decent looking game and is an enhanced version of the original Game Boy version. Now, one thing that they actually added that I didn't expect to see is the ability to play as Pac-Man. Yeah, in the 2-player mode, the second player uses Pac-Man. This isn't a huge accomplishment or anything, as it is just Miss Pac-Man without the makeup and bow, but it's still a nice addition they included. Okay, so as I was doing more research, other versions of Miss Pac-Man before this have had Pac-Man as a playable character, and even had a co-op mode in some versions with both characters. Well, I guess now this doesn't seem as impressive. It's still a nice feature that I don't think was in the original arcade release. It's still cool to me, so shut up, don't take that away from me. Anyway, now let's check out Super Pac-Man. The arcade game was actually released the same year as Miss Pac-Man, just later on. Like the others, this one's screen is zoomed in and the sounds and graphics are slightly downgraded, but it actually doesn't feel that downgraded from the original. For those who are unfamiliar with Super Pac-Man, this time around you don't collect dots. You instead unlock these gates and grab the different fruits. Like the first level has apples and the second has bananas. It's a nice change up from the original game and even Miss Pac-Man. Now you may be wondering, what about the original Game Boy version? Well, believe it or not, there was no original GB version of this game. So this was the only way to play Super Pac-Man on Game Boy, which makes this pack a little more special. But anyway, this game runs fine overall. I have no idea if it runs any differently on an original Game Boy, but it at least runs good on a Game Boy Color onward. Overall, this is a pretty good pack of games that I personally find better than the other Special Color Edition, and not just because of Miss Pac-Man. Again, there's not much of a reason to get this game over other options today. However, due to this being one of the only official ways to play Super Pac-Man portably, it does have a little more value than Pac-Man SCE. Now if you wanted to give either of these games a try, they are relatively cheap these days, so it wouldn't set you back too much. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video about special colored games. Don't forget to like this video if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos like this or any others, and thanks for watching.